Thank you all for coming along. This is a session on Disney's Underdogs, rethinking wildlife storytelling. So I have with me Tom Stevens, director of Underdogs, and Rob Jewett from Motion Impossible.
Hi, how you doing?
And wildlife photographer extraordinaire.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So I think we're going to watch the clip first of from Underdogs.
Looks like it's still going.
It's time to shift our focus to the bottom. I've teamed up with Nat Geo to fast forward right past nature's glory hogs and get down in the mud. With nature's benchwarmers, not the superheroes, the super zeros. You tell them, Green Day. I wanna be your underdog. Wherever there's an itch in nature's undercarriage, there will be underdogs.
Behind the scenes now as well.
So we're going to see the elephant seals.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So
Do you want to talk us through this a little bit?
Yeah, well, I can set up where we were, and you can tell them what your kit
Tom.
was. So this was a shoot in California that Rob and his team joined us on with the AGITO buggy down there. And the brief was to film a sneaker male elephant seal infiltrating the colony. They come and sit on this beach for only a month a year, and that's the one time where they come from the Pacific Ocean and they come to breed. The females have their pups. And in that little narrow window of a month to 5 weeks, some of the younger males try and sneak into the colony. And the trouble is they've got to avoid these guys, the beach masters, which are the massive dominant males, sneak in unnoticed without being beaten up and killed, try and mate with a female and get out of there as quick as possible. And so that was our sort of challenge. And that's when I rang Rob.
So,
And I answered.
yeah, so looking at that, it seems like you got quite sort of intimately in there with the seals. So can you talk through how that, like, you know, this looks like it was very different to a traditional sort of shoot, would you say?
Yeah, well, what Tom wanted to do was get the camera close while they were having a fight, but without influencing their behavior anyway by us spooking them or people being around them. They're pretty dangerous when they're, I mean, when they were clouting each other with those teeth and the blood's all splatting out. You don't want people to be around there.
No,
so
no.
getting a camera on a robot as close as possible was the best way. And obviously what we can do is move with it as well. If you get a cameraman down there on a tripod, you're not going to be able to move.
It comes with all sorts of challenges working somewhere like this. So this is a little spit of land and the tide here is out. So when the tide comes in, it's a narrow thing. So we had the tide window to work in. When the sea was out, we could bring the buggy in and we could work around the periphery of this tight group of elephant seals. This is a state park, so there's all sorts of restrictions. We couldn't just drive a vehicle on there. We'd be scaring the animals. So you have to have something that's just quiet, that could be stepped back. So again, AGITO for us was, you know, the go-to thing being electric and very quiet. And then because you're quite far away from the animals, because you don't want to impact animal behavior, you want to be backed off. We needed it was a CN20 in there, so a 50 to 1000 lens, stabilized. So we're using a shot over M1 there, balanced on the AGITO, so we can get a whole range of sequence sort of size shots, from tight head shots to the sort of establishing wides, while still being backed off from the animals. And then add into all of that this sort of dynamic environment where we'd just be filming, say, into the colony there, and then this kicks off. You get a male comes in from the sea, and there's one on the periphery, and they'll come in and they'll start battling, and they just sort of bounce over to each other.
That was a good impression, actually, Tom.
Yeah, I know.
It's a good elephant seal.
Look at that.
I can tell you've been spending time
And they
with
run
them.
faster than you think. And so
Without legs.
Is it running?
I was about to say the sort of
Flop.
over there, but it is kind of terrifying when they do it towards you. But this can all happen multiple times, because there's maybe 8 different beach masters around this whole scene. So we're trying to keep an eye on where the action's kicking off and where we want to be filming, which again is where we need the AGITO to be able to get in there quickly and before the moment's gone. And that's where Rob and his team were able to get the buggy in as fast as possible.
And how far away are you from the buggy in the action?
Yeah, actually on this one we weren't too far away. We had to be completely mobile. Alex, who will be here tomorrow, he was controlling the hand controller, because you can control the hand controller just walking. And I had a monitor and a controller in a pedal case that literally I would shuffle along. I'd have a little seat that I'd whip underneath me, open it up, and then start controlling it. Something would happen over 200 meters away. We would drive the AGITO at 20 miles per hour to get there. And I would run like crazy with us all behind it.
Run.
Yeah.
And carrying all the gear.
And then we'd start up again.
But
and
I think that's the thing is this. It's like a dance that's going on all the time, and being able to be wireless all the time is the thing that makes it possible, because we're getting a wireless video feed from there. We've got Alex driving it, Rob and I and Alex all talking to each other, obviously wirelessly on headsets, looking at a remote video feed, and being able to be portable and moving around as the scenes unfolding in front of them without impacting it is just massive.
Right.
So I would often be walking next to Alex and I can see the pace of the shot. I had a wireless feed of the shot. I can talk to Rob. And ideally, Rob was positioned so he didn't have to move too much. We want the buggy to do the work for us and put the lens where we want it to be and follow the elephant seals in on their journey and stick with the character. So it was ideal from that point of view.
So we talked a little bit about earlier about the having like these faster turnarounds now and having to really get out there and get that shot in the can, so to speak. And like, how has that changed for you? And how is the technology kind of enabling that? Because you're under a lot of pressure now to turn these shows around quite fast.
Yeah. Well, there is a faster turnaround of production at the moment. I think with streaming platforms coming on and the demand for content, it isn't a landmark show every 3 years. It was for a window there, sort of one a year or more on different platforms. And so everyone wants something new and fresh as quickly as possible. And part of that means that we're more restricted on time on our production period. And post is going to take, 8 to 9 months at best, sometimes longer. And we've been shooting Underdogs, where we've shot season 1 and delivered it. Season 2 is the same. We're sort of working in a year's acquisition period, which is pretty short for natural history.
Yeah, really fast.
And so for us, what that means is that we spend more time on wrecking and pre-production and making sure we kind of know before we go. But often we only have one chance to shoot the behavior. So this is a classic example. The elephant seals are there for 1 month a year. Rest of the time they're in the Pacific feeding. They don't come ashore. There's no pickup opportunity. The females come ashore to breed and then mate and then go again. So we had to be there at the right window of time, which we were saying climate change is a problem for us. The animals come ashore or do their behavior, their breeding, their feeding at slightly offset times of year with different climate patterns. So we have a bit of luck of our getting there at the right time. But when we go, we're all in. We take everything we can. And on this shoot, we had Rob with the AGITO. We had 2 other camera ops filming long lens behavior, drone details, slider details, all at the same time, because we just had that 3-4 week window where the behavior was happening. So I think the change now is we don't go on a shooting recce like we may have done a few years back. We just go all in and we try our best to capture it all in one go. But, the upside of that is that an event happens, we get a fight or we have a sneaker male come and do the behavior, and we're cross-shooting a lot of our stuff.
Given that, as you said, you're now targeting, it's not like just traditional broadcast, there's also all the sort of different platforms, short-form content, and vertical, I guess, as well. That must be quite challenging. Does that change how you're trying to tell the story, in terms of it's not like a traditional David Attenborough style kind of big, epic wildlife show? It's more of storytelling element to it. Do you find that's changed how you're making these movies?
I think what's different these days is we're just looking for diversity of natural history stories. Underdogs is sort of one end of a diorama. There's still absolute need for your David Attenborough content. I think they do a brilliant job. We're not in competition. We are an alternative. We're taking more of an entertainment line with this series, which was underserving your 18 to 40-year-olds. We were trying to bring people with Ryan Reynolds on board, maybe something that they wouldn't have naturally gone to because they might have thought, oh, it might be more traditional and they wanted something more entertaining. These shows are like 35 minutes and hopefully you can watch one and go, oh, I'll watch two. Whereas often I think in natural history, you might watch an hour and you'd be maybe a bit tired and not up for number two. You're not binge watching natural history content. So I think really all we want to offer is something different. Through comedy, Ryan brings, an incredible voice. It's got a very different tone, but still, you're educational. You're learning about the underdogs are just as important as your flagship animals. And it's all about trying to promote biodiversity and bring people in on stories that they don't know so well, because these animals, the weird and the wonderful, downtrodden outcasts, are the ones that were overlooked in the past. So I think by necessity, we've got new stories because they're relatively unplayed animals, unknown animals. And then we're bringing humor to it to try and engage people in a different way.
Do you think that, given that we are trying to, budgets, this is across the whole industry, budgets are definitely reducing, everything's getting tighter, but, filming wildlife is hard. It's necessarily requires you to go to difficult locations. Presumably planning phases are pretty long and involved. And, is there a danger that in this sort of in this environment where people are just cutting budgets all the time, that it's actually not sustainable to produce wildlife content?
I think at the production value people want, that's the thing. We have seen it all before. Pretty much, and we will then up the resolution of the different stories and we told them again and again and again. They all look quite similar. I think innovation is the thing that gets people interested and engaged in wildlife. Technical innovation allows you to tell stories from a new perspective. That's the whole point of them. I think a system like this is such a great example of that. We had seen elephant seals before fighting, but we had never been with them. And what it enabled us to do is to focus more on characterization. So Underdogs, it's a funny show. You got Ryan Reynolds cracking gags, that's true, but we want to, if you're an underdog, it's all about empathy. So we wanted to relate with our characters. And my job in the sort of series director role was to go, well, how do we do that? Because we hear a lot about immersion and terms get banded around, but really what we wanted to do was get eye level with our subject when you're seeing the world from its perspective, no matter if it's a tiny little slug or an elephant seal. We filmed all of the range. The cinematic grammar is the same, and how we move the camera, just different scales. But we want to be in the world of our underdog. And when you're there and you see it from their perspective, then you can create empathy. And if you've got empathy, you've got chances for humor. And then Ryan can sort of add what he does on top of it. So that was the idea, using technology to sort of bring you in and tell character stories.
Yeah, and I'll just add, what we've enabled is more of a real-time way of capturing behavior. Natural history has been made by piecing behavior together. And I think what we are allowed to do is, because we can move around and capture different angles so quickly as the turn of events is happening, that allows us to almost cover a sequence much quicker. Right. And that's where bringing us in to do shots that, you can't be out there for very long. You haven't got much time and budgets are tight. Actually, where this may look like an expensive tool, actually becomes a budget saver because of how much we are capturing so quickly.
I can add on to that from a sort of producer point of view, when you do the budget, it is all about minutes on screen for what you're spending. And I think the amount of content we got, I think the buggy was on set for 10 days, 12 days, something like that, for what actually made it in the cut. It's so well worth it. There is an expense. There's an outlay of hiring the gimbal, hiring the car, hiring Rob and his team to bring it in. We've got to fly it there, no doubt. But the efficiency that you get from being there, and what it brings in to elevate the narrative, was definitely well worth it. And it was something which we then brought on to a couple of our other shoots as well. And yeah, I think it gets you shots that we couldn't have gotten otherwise. And that is a unique thing in natural history and something that everyone is striving for, because they want a new perspective on the story. and it definitely has provided that.
And because you're able to do that kind of continuous shoot and maybe capture a baby, whereas previously you would have had like sort of set up a tripod, point the camera, shoot. Now it's like, all right, I need another angle. I'm going to go all the way over there, set up, shoot, and hope that you can stitch together what looks like a continuous sequence, but really it's not. Is it changing how you're thinking about how you capture the wildlife and how you tell that story?
Yeah.
Being able to do this?
Yeah. So what this does, or the way we've utilized it on Underdogs that I could sort of speak to, is we divide our teams up and they have specific roles for the kit that they're carrying. So we had an operator, for example, on sticks, tripod, Venice 2, CN20, and he's shooting critical focus eye details. So we need like headshots. We need those looks, those turns, but you need that is a finite focus in an 8K resolution, and that's really hard. So and getting those stable compositions, they're not moving shots. They are lock-offs, often higher speed shots sometimes. That's a dedicated job. Again, we've got 3 weeks and we need all of these bits because we need those reaction shots. We need animals looking away and moving around. So one of our ops, that was principally his role, was getting tight details. Second camera op, he would be shooting drone. He was doing some slider work and building out a little bit more atmospherics. Sometimes he did long lens work and just slightly multi-tooled. And then AGITO, we're using it for tracking, following an individual as he made his way through the colony, which is quite funny to watch as they sort of lollop through and bounce around, and the seals have little arguments, get in the way. But we needed like that shallow depth of field on a telephoto lens to isolate that individual and follow it through a colony. And that's really where, at that height, was just perfect for that.
Right. And were you actually following the seal through the colony with the camera?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so how do they react, or do they just not really care?
They didn't even care about us. In fact, we got behind the scenes footage of one blobbing over to us and we had to get out of the way. You know, right. It's just going for us. It's not going for us. It's just moving. And it's not even caring that we're in the way. Yeah, and we just need to get out of the way pretty quickly. So, no, they're definitely not bothered about us.
That's really interesting.
It's because they're not prey.
Yeah. Right.
When you have a prey behavior you're filming, it becomes a lot different. And then you are into tactics of how to capture that type of behavior. But for this, it was much easier.
So I want to finally talk about the elephant seal in the room. AI, yeah, thank you. Made that one up myself. Generative AI is having a huge impact on the industry, on all forms of content creation. I mean, I'm not going to lead you in any way. I do a lot of work in this area, and I'm really interested to hear what you think about how that will impact creating wildlife footage, because, you know, this is all about capturing reality, right? So is there any space for generative AI? Is it going to impact this content?
I think people want to see true behavior. I think so far I'm seeing through the AI generated videos. It'll get to the point where they're close, but to the point of taking over a natural history, I just can't see it happen.
I agree with Rob. I think several sides to look at it. I'll tell you a quick story about it. I stayed in this hotel last night, and I turned on the telly at the end of my bed, and someone had logged into YouTube before me, and up came what they'd been watching, and it was all wildlife stuff. It was like Attenborough's top 1 hour, and it was like sounds of the rain, rainforests, things that someone had searched for. No idea who this person is, but the last person in the room before me, presumably. And I was like, oh, that's interesting that they turned to nature, real nature, as something to watch, as a relaxing thing before they went to sleep. And I think that connection is hugely important, and people find it important to them in different ways. But the fact that it's real gives them some sort of escapism. And I think when we turn everything into an artificial reality about what is real, we do ourselves a disservice. It's like, I think everyone's very much inspired by the natural world. They want to look after it. if we start presenting the natural world as artificial or tricking people or not telling them that it's real, why would they care for it? So we're not going to help ourselves if we start producing artificial content. We're just going to self-promote. Everything's fine. Everything looks okay. A bit like Wally.
Yeah.
So no, I don't think, I don't know, of course, but I think as far as what we're aspiring to do is not to use generative AI to represent the world as a sort of utopian reality. I think it's very important that we show people the reality, better or worse. They're far more engaged.
Right.
The latest Oceans documentary with Attenborough showed trawl net fishing. It's been going on for decades and decades.
Yeah.
We've all eaten fish and chips. No one thought about where it came from. Suddenly people see the impact of a trawl net on the seabed, and we ban trawl netting within 2 weeks. So it's really important to show what's going on.
Genuine real world impact. And and that comes from being authentic and being real.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's really important. The space for AI in our world in natural history, I think it's very helpful for research. We can get through research really quickly and efficiently. You can interrogate papers. We can ask questions of academic research. Sometimes you've got to break down the jargon of science, and it can make it more accessible. And you can say, I'm really trying to find this behavior. Does this scientific paper sort of point to that? And it might say yes or no, or it might use some nuance on it. And getting through that is really important for us. And there's a lot to look through. So I think AI for research is great. In post-production, I think we'll probably end up using it more, helping with finishing post, like paint outs and finite stuff. But I don't think we're going to create and generatively create anything.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. That's exactly what we wanted to know. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for your time and answering the questions. And we look forward to seeing the new series of Underdogs.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you very much.
Even when love seems hopelessly out of reach, you should never lose faith, because there's always another day. Meet our blubberiest underdog yet, a young male elephant seal. He's hoping to breed and has just spotted an opportunity. But he's hit a little snag. Oh, ho, ho, ho. 4,000 pounds of naked fury who just caught him trying to mate with his girlfriend. Been there. No, run. Oh, you're so dead. Oh my God, you're so dead. Our little runt is about to get the beating of his life. And all for the sake of love. Is it worth it? Keep watching. Once a year, eager male elephant seals approach the shores of California with one thing in mind: mating. And with hundreds of females on the beach, the odds, they're pretty good, right? But there's a problem. Come on, you saw that coming. They've got to get past the Beachmaster. I promise you that's the scientific term. And the nickname for my mom when I was trying to sneak back into the house. Okay, moving on. He's the largest male in the area. 2 tons of unrepressed anger and control issues. He'll beat the crap out of anyone who tries to mate with his fan base of adoring females. Those females also act like security, alerting the big guy to any intruders. But some females are looking for more than just a beefcake. They'll go for smaller, sensitive sorts, like our guy. But he's gonna need to pick the perfect moment. The fertile females are the ones in the middle of the colony. The challenge is try to sneak past the guards and mate with a willing partner behind the Beachmaster's back. It's not long before he sees his opening. The arrival of a second Beachmaster. Wait, a second Beachmaster? And that gives Mr. Underdog just what he needs. A diversion. While the Tattletales have their eyes on the big boy beach fight, our guy picks both a safe word and a safe route toward the fertile females. By the way, the safe word is pumpkin spice. He won't have long. He doesn't need long. Oh, there goes the alarm. And son of a Beachmaster, here comes the beating. Pumpkin spice, pumpkin spice, pumpkin spice. Right back to where we started. But it turns out he had just enough time to get the job done before he was caught. So is the punishment worth it? Well, you bet it is.